generation. So very dear to my heart. We have a couple of people here. First, I'm going to start with development and how you pronounce your company?
Yeah.
And of course, he's currently the sustainability chair for the chapter. Todd has both operational and financial. Todd has a passion for helping facility managers and owners identify, implement energy conservation solutions that mitigate risk and have very active returns in investments. His company is with a focus on solar technologies and related solutions, such as battery storage, EV charging stations, engineering, procurement, we're actually going through a space planning project, and sustainability is in the realm of some of that work. Also, we have a couple other people in here. Introduce them. We have John Logan.
So to me, I had the fortune of meeting more about a year or so ago, before he was president, and instantly we have COVID. So I'm an N of 2 on our sustainability committee, and we don't really do meetings. We kind of call and chat a little bit, but we're recruiting. So if you have an interest, you want to be part of it, we'd love to have you. We'll be focusing on not just presenting IFMA programs and other types of things like this, but my thought is the committee itself should have access to experts. So we'll bring in every meeting every month. My thought is about 12 experts a year. Welcome anyone to join. There's one. My understanding is that it's already been run this year, but I know you, and I was the head of the committee, which is we collected a ton of e-trash. So we'll do that again next year, and I'll be a little more active, and hopefully we'll get someone to volunteer to do it. But today, our team, you know, I am always fortunate to have people that make me look really good when I sit on a panel. And we have some experts, quite honestly, thrilled to listen to them and learn. John has been around this community most of his career. He is a charter member. The legal side of real estate, but he's a pro at sustainability law and really does a great work. I met with him for, I thought we were going to do 10 minutes. We did about an hour over coffee, and just it was phenomenal. He spoke last month on the law, so we get the benefits of an expert here. Mike is from Excel. There are also some other, everyone from Excel, raise your. We have one. Excel. And Mike is the head of the relationship with the customer to try to bring together useful software technologies for benchmarking and other programs at Excel. So we'll hear from him on benchmarking. Finally, Don. I get more I sat next to Lisa last night at the Rockies game, and she described the fact that they're environmentals. And Dawn came up with a way to turn off, when no one was here, turn off all the building essentials, and then take a benchmark, and then turn on the watering system and take a benchmark, do the calculations, and come up with an end result. She is an expert on benchmarking as someone doing it operationally. She's been doing it, and also her background is as a consultant, has worked with many of those in IFMA, helping to understand benchmarking and other types of thrilled of this myself. I'm going to jump through just a quick overview. Really get to it. But what we're trying to do is we do this again, work on both sides also. But as managers of facilities, so that they understand what it is and they can actually get it approved. And then finally, benchmark. At a benchmark. And then eventually, hopefully, if we have time, we can even talk about how it impacts some of the other or a company, and I've taken a couple of companies public. The one thing to me, it's about mitigating our company. If we don't have a sustainable project, we won't do the project for electricians. It just isn't part of our DNA. However, at the end of the day, the marketing side of your business, but quantify and what to do with it, that's another topic. Many of you know, and it's very rudimentary. However, when you look at the type of projects that are electrically driven, not talking about environmental, but some of the basic just note in Denver, solar return investments right now are between 3 and 5 years on ROI. So it's an interesting time. Make some critical, bold statements about where not only the city but where other businesses have in the next 5 to 10 years. And sometimes a lot of people have already done a lot of work. Solar might only, or I guess geothermal or something. So with that, I'm going to get out of your way. Thank you for listening again. I'll repeat again.
But just to correct one thing, I'm not really a charter member of BOMA. BOMA was established 100 years ago, and I'm old, but not that old. I have been a member. I've been a member of BOMA for 30 some odd years. All right, how many of you know what benchmarking is? Okay, so there are some people in the room who do not know what benchmarking is. Benchmarking means you take a measurement of the energy usage, the current energy usage of your properties. That's benchmarking. And you take it and you report it. So right now, Denver, Boulder, and I think Fort Collins all have benchmarking laws, ordinances in place. Denver, every building over 25,000 square feet has to be reporting their energy usage to the city. Excel has a program in place that allows you to do very easy fill in, as I understand it. Just fill in a form and they tie your account into it. You're good to go. Don't do it, you get a fine. But it's been in effect now. Started with 50,000 square feet building and dropped down to 25,000. Everybody in Denver should be doing it. Okay. It's just benchmarking. It's just benchmarking, meaning there's no requirement at this time to get your energy efficiency up. Right. This past legislative session, the state legislature passed a statewide law for benchmarking. Now, as originally drafted, that law said every building over 50,000 square feet in the entire state of Colorado must report its energy usage to a state government office. Part one. Not too bad. We've got systems in place, at least for Excel. Some of the other power facilities, power grid people in Colorado can easily develop it. Not bad. However, this law went much, much, much further. It required that every building over 50,000 square feet within a few years achieve a certain level of energy efficiency under standards as proposed by this bill, which would have meant essentially 75% of buildings would fail. 75% of buildings would not be able to achieve these energy saving standards, with the consequence that you would have a fine of $2,000 to $3,000 and 3 cents per square foot per day. 3 cents per square foot per day that you did not meet these facilities. Think of an Amazon facility center, 1 million square feet, 3 cents per square foot. Imagine the daily penalty that you would have to pay. So that part of the law, there was a massive pushback from the commercial real estate sector. And I'm in an alphabet soup of real estate organizations, BOMA, IRM, ULI, and NAOP, all of that. And we all have our legislative affairs committees. We push back. We said these standards aren't practical. We can't meet them. The fines are draconian. They're awful. So what happened is this. There is now a study group that has just been appointed. It is primarily environmentally friendly, but there are some representatives of our world on there as well. Over the next year, they are going to come up with standards for different types of buildings to achieve energy efficiency. So 1 year from now, we will know what you're required to do, right? And if those standards are adopted, we will at least have something. We'll know what we have to achieve. The problem we have here is that there is an unelected body in Colorado, the Colorado Air Quality Commission. Okay, that Air Quality Commission appointed representatives, appointed by the governor and I can't remember who else, has a considerable left lean. And I don't care what your politics are, but understand that if you have a governing body that leans to an environmental slant, they're going to take it. They have the ability to reject the committee's recommendations, not take those, and come up with their own, which may then go back to the 3 cents per square foot per day penalty for failing to achieve standards. So over the next year, you're going to have to pay very, very, very close attention to all of these standards as they get discussed, debated, and adopted. Because if you are a facilities manager, how many of you manage facilities in the world or associated with management? Okay, all right, several of them. This can get very, very expensive. How many of you are in the service industry, electrical? I know we got one electrical contract or something like that. Okay, you're going to be rich. Okay, I'm totally serious. I have a lighting contractor friend of mine, and he is salivating at how much money he's going to make over the next 3 to 5 years, because honestly speaking, this is going to be something that's going to have to be used. You're going to have to make modifications. So again, statewide, we have a 50,000 square feet or more building standard. Denver, 25,000 feet. Now, Denver is already going to be imposing standards of its own. It has its own commission, its own air quality crew. And they have come up with the idea that they will have a 30% reduction in all energy savings across all buildings in the city by 2030. That's just 9 years from now. Every building in the city and county of Denver, and this includes residences, is going to have to achieve 30% savings. Now, how are we going to do this? What is electrification? Electrification, you will hear this word used a ton over the next 5 years. Essentially, what it means is we are going to an all-electric system. Anything gas is going to be phased out. And this includes in Denver, and it's sort of an ideal that they want to achieve. But if you live in Denver, and how many of you do? You? Okay. Say goodbye to your gas forced air furnace. Say goodbye to your gas stove. Say goodbye to your gas fire pit. Anything that is gas powered within 10 years, the goal, I should say 9 years, the goal is to get rid of it and replace it with heat pumps. So at the end of the day, where we're going with this is we are going to an all-electric system statewide, ideally. No natural gas usage anywhere. No electricity that is derived from gas or coal plants. The idea is at some point, ideally again, this will all be phased out. How we do that, I don't know, but Excel, I think, is already at 50% renewable energy. Yeah, so we're already at 50% wind and solar. So it can be achievable. But, and we'll let the Excel people answer this question, which is when we have a nice cold snap, 20 degrees below zero, and there's no wind blowing and there's cloud cover, and so the turbines on the wind, on the fans are, the windmill's not going, and there's no solar. How do we handle the peak loads? As of right now, my understanding is we fire up the gas-fired energy plants, fire up the coal-fired power plants, and we create peak demand electricity to meet that. We're going to have to, it's a technological challenge, and we have to cover. But end of the day, where the law is right now, mandatory benchmarking across the state, 50,000 square feet or more, mandatory benchmarking in several municipalities in Denver, 25,000 square feet or more. You're going to have to report. Then we're going to have within a year standards that we're going to have to start implementing, which if you don't meet those standards, you will be fined, you will be penalized. What those standards are, as I said, we don't know yet. They're developed. So stay tuned for that piece of it. And third and finally, the law is electrification, or will be. And here's how they're going to impose it, for example, in the city and county of Denver, which is starting with the next cycle of building permits. Anybody who's doing tenant finish work, anybody who's doing new construction, ground up stuff, the next round of building codes are going to require electric systems. And if you do tenant finish work, you do remodeling, you're going to have to bring in electric systems to your buildings. Now, this is going to vary from jurisdiction to jurisdiction. Each one adopts its own version of the Uniform Building Code. Everyone's going to be unique, so you're going to have to pay attention to this. But the idea is in construction, you will be doing electric. You will not be bringing gas to new buildings. You will be taking gas out of existing buildings as you remodel. So that's the state of the law. It's in a bit of flux. The practical reality here from the political climate perspective is this will not change. This is from a political perspective, a blue state with supermajorities of the Democratic Party in both the House and Senate, and a Democratic governor. And again, I don't care politics. I'm a registered independent. I contribute to both parties. But the practical reality here is with that political makeup, these rules, these laws aren't going to change, and they're going to be fast tracked. So you have to pay attention to that. Yes, good. I think that's going to be covered by another speaker. So I will defer to that. If it's not, then I'll seek you out.
Actually, what I just said is maybe we can hold questions.
Oh, okay.
Because I want all the speakers to get through.
There will be incentives first, so there'll be carrots, there'll be sticks, and there will be, in some of the discussion, some credit given for people who've already gotten to certain standards. But again, this is in a complete state of flux. I have no idea what these final standards
By the way, all of John's are part of the slide deck that's up here. And therefore, if anyone wants slides, just let me know and I'll send them. Okay.
Let's see. Feeling lucky. Hey, it works. Cool. So I'm gonna duplicate a little bit of what he said, but I'll go through it quick. I got it. But I want to just jump back to benchmarking real quick and talk about exactly what that is. That's trying to compare your building to other buildings, typically looking at some sort of metric of consumption. So as you can see here, it's how much you're using over the total square feet. And it's going to allow you to figure out, are you being efficient? Are you not being efficient? And when we're talking about carrots and sticks, it's really figuring out where you rank with whatever standard that the state comes up with of where you should be. And this can be with electric, such as kWh per square foot, or gas, or water, or any fuel that you use can be benchmarked to try and figure out how your building is doing compared to others. Now, you can't typically just say kWh per square foot and compare one building to another. One might be 100,000 square feet. One might be all working from home now. So you don't know what that comparison is. So typically, through the benchmarking process, we, or at least the Energy Star, normalizes for a whole bunch of different characteristics. And these characteristics are entered during the benchmarking process by you or whoever's entering this information to make sure that when you compare one warehouse to another or one office building to another, you're not artificially hurting your score because you have a parking garage or because you have more or a heavier density, smaller cubes or something like that. And these are the types of things that actually normalize the facilities, and there's a bunch more that you can do to even fine tune it, but these are the major ones that are used typically. And when you do benchmark, expect to have this type of information available so you can actually get an accurate result. And the benchmarking score itself puts you on a scale of 0 to 100, and 50 being average, 75 being the 75th percentile, and then 100 is obviously going to be the more efficient buildings out there. And so you can, this is an example of what Energy Star will put out. 86 is good, and above 75, you can actually get certified on Energy Star. And this is typically the output that Energy Star gives you. And as I was talking about Energy Star, the standard process for benchmarking is the Energy Star Portfolio Manager. How many of you have heard of Energy Star Portfolio Manager before? Cool, a bunch of you. Given this law, most likely everyone is going to become very familiar with it. This is the solution they initially suggested. One of the things the task force that was mentioned is going to be evaluating is what the end solution will be. But this is a free service offered by the Department of Energy where you can enter your information and it will give you that benchmarking score after you go through the process of fuel consumption as well into it. And as John was saying, right now it's kind of up in flux with exactly who meets benchmark, it's 50,000 square feet, but some multifamily are not included, and some manufacturing, but a lot of it's still going to be determined by the task force. And some of them are just too specialized. There's not enough specific facilities that are close to it for it to be any value to try and compare your energy use to another one. So as you go through your buildings, if you have a whole portfolio, you might only be benchmarking 90% of them, and the others might not qualify or affect. And we mentioned that Denver is already doing this, Fort Collins is already doing this, in our territory, Minneapolis is already doing this. So a lot of other territories are doing this. And this is the type of dashboard that you can find. If you look at South Downtown Denver, every single property that is benchmarked, their information goes onto the web, and a public dashboard says where, you can click on maybe that red one and say, this building with, this is the address, this is the name, this is who owns it, they are out of compliance, or they are doing a poor job because of poor, but they have high energy use because their Energy Star score is less than 50. So there's also a little bit of public engagement aspect to this as well. And this information will also typically is downloadable in like spreadsheet format and all that stuff. So there is a public component of this, not only the benchmarking and reporting to the state. And the reason that Tyler is here and I'm here is that, Excel will support our customers to do this. We offer a service already to Denver and Minneapolis and all of our other customers that are required to benchmark to help them set up their Energy Star account and help them get our data into that Energy Star account and make sure that we're able to make your requirements or meet your requirements for benchmarking. And additionally, part of this legislation is requiring that other utility companies do the same, develop processes to support you. So it's still relatively new legislation, and we don't know what it's going to look like at the end, but know that your utility partner, whether it's Excel or someone else, will be there to help you try and navigate this process and make sure that the benchmarking portion of actually getting your information into the portal and getting the result isn't the scariest portion. You can spend your time trying to figure out how to meet the standards that you need to at the end of the timeline. And really, we can also help you meet those standards. Do you guys know that we offer incentives? Hopefully everyone here is nodding their head that we offer money for efficient things. Good. We have tons of incentives that we can offer you to help buy down the cost of getting that 5 to 7% or whatever we wind up with. We have programs to help you monitor energy use much more accurately. And we have programs that can offer you consultants to help you make efficient decisions that aren't trying to sell you anything. I know Joan was just talking about how she signed up for strategic energy management, one of the programs that connects a consultant to large facility users to help make good energy decisions and just act as another set of eyes. So we can help meet those requirements, and your other utility partners also likely will be trying to help you make this meet your requirements for this law. And as we mentioned, there is a task force. The group was just finalized. I applied. I didn't get on it. In fact, no one from Excel is on the task force. So we were actively interested in figuring out how this legislation, evolves as it goes through the task force. But we do have, utility representative on there. We have operating engineer. We have commercial building owner is on the task force, as well as an engineer/architect, and 2 building performance experts are also on there. So we have a wide variety of stakeholders, but we don't know what it's going to actually look like at the end once this task force is wrapped up. And as we were saying, the law is going to change. Unfortunately, we know that as it stands now, there's the potential for fines and requirements such as reducing energy use, but what it will look like in the future, we're not 100% sure. With that, I'm done.
Well, So I grew up on this like was we were one hospital. So a lot of times they try back. So
I'm gonna go to the next one.
Red. More gas than you should, right? Based on a previous 12 months. Then it works. And your occupants, if you're a real estate building, you can post facilities. Also, inquiries. You can also so this tool, yes, it's free, but if you pay taxes, we're all paying for it, so you might as well use it, right? You can see the cost, current 12 month cost versus the baseline. I just love it, right? So then the last slide. This is what's on the state website now. But this is the reporting they're asking for. So you can fill this out and submit it and be good. But I will recommend you try to use the portal because it's really a beneficial tool to use moving forward. And the only other thing I'll say is I have another. Do not benchmark. They will do and this whatever it is. Here you go. It'll be very interesting. All the things and then all of a sudden, and all the gas. What is it?
Don't go too far. We're all going to come up here, and we are going to get a little bit more formal for the Q&A. Just so we can see here. There are a couple of main questions. The question. Building, and it's already LEED certified. All these great things that we've done to position it. How are you going to be measured? Are you going to have to then take it to the next level beyond that? I'm going to ask John to react because we have this conversation. It's very interesting.
So one of the standards that's been proposed out is to measure your 2021 usage and compare it to your 2026 usage. And then you have to presumably achieve a certain level of savings in 2026. So the discussion in the legislative groups that I'm a part of is, why do anything this year? Let's wait and be energy hogs this year. And in 5 years from now, we'll be great. And so there's a certain logic, certain appeal in that. I do know some people are kicking some of these energy efficiency projects down the road just because they don't want to look too good too soon. Now, again, that's going to get some immediate returns on some of this. Talking about the 3 to 5 year return on solar can be something that you're going to lose out on some of that savings. But because of the state of flux we have with regard to the savings and the standards, there is some reluctance to make these changes now. Now, that said, hopefully in the standards committee that is just now formed, just going to start in the first meeting, There's going to be some recognition. And I do know that from the real estate organizations I work with, we're pushing that those who are LEED certified, that those who are in the green, the little green dots you saw down, won't have to do as much because they've already achieved as much as they can. But we'll see. And that's going to be a really interesting question. And I wish I could guarantee you that you're okay if you've done everything you can now.
That hasn't been necessarily efficiency. So are you penalized for not week?
So again, I don't know because we don't know what these standards are. They're evolving, and everybody's coming to this committee with their own agenda, with their own idea of what we should do and how we should accomplish it. And to the comment that I made earlier, one of the original standards out there was that you didn't have to do anything if by the end of the day you were at the 75 score, right? And I think that was what the original legislation said, which meant that, and of course that would be a 75 score, your 75th percentile of buildings as of 2026. That means 74% failed because of 2026. They're not at that 75% number. So one of the issues, as it's been explained to me, and I am not a technical expert here, so you can't rely on me. There's a really good reason why I'm not on the committee. But the idea is that you've got these scores that are set up, and while you might have regional scores, you can have national scores. You can have buildings from Alaska to Florida, and the idea is we have to create an apples to apples comparison, not an apples to watermelon. And so it's going to be a challenge for this committee to come to a consensus, because if they do not achieve consensus, then the Air Quality Control Commission will impose its own regulations. We've already seen what they do.
Any other questions, or I've got a few. I'll just go ahead.
Yeah, so at Excel, our mission is carbon free by 2050, because there's a lot of really large issues getting rid of natural gas and all of the carbon intensive generation right away, because, you know, there is the intermittent wind, or what if the sun's not out and we're relying on solar, or what if we don't have the battery storage? And as far as lobbying to push back on this specific bill at this moment, we're working closely with them, but our mission is, and our path forward is by 2050, which is a longer timeline than what they're saying, is that we think we can be ready and prepared. And that's one of the reasons why you guys probably hear about demand response programs, where we're asking people to turn things off when it's hot outside, or we're rolling out reverse demand response now, or we're going to ask you to turn things on when we're have excess renewables. Because right now, when the grid doesn't need a lot of power, we have all these windmills that we just turned off and they're not spinning. You know, that hurts our renewable investments. We cannot, you know, even, it makes the payback for investing in renewables worse. So we're going to be asking business owners to say, hey, you know, in the morning, turn on your electric reheat. Don't use your boilers, turn on your electric reheat, and we'll reduce your energy use, and you'll actually make money from doing it. And so we're going to have these very interactive grid type engagements, but really the immediate reduction of natural gas is a challenge. And it's something that our entire industry is really struggling with. And so I think this is taking us there. When we're done with the process of working through it and seeing what it looks like at the end, I think it's bound to look different than it does right now, I'm guessing.
Yes. Concerns. Which. Before you answer, I want to give one more question on benchmarking, and then we'll look at, as I think it's important to make sure that we get some of the other questions done before we go off track. But one of them was from someone who manages a data center. I think, Don, this one's for you, which is with a data center with limited number of employees, but heavily amount of equipment. Talk about how you would approach benchmarking as an operator. So that
So you mentioned that 12 months consecutive. Here. And Excel does have
any other questions on benchmarking? Then we'll flip back to the demand side.
So it comes down to what I mentioned previously. It's a smart grid. We're going to something that's going to be more dynamic. And as homeowners, I don't know if you guys have heard about electric water heaters. We have programs that will connect a controller to your electric water heater, and that will give you money. And on behalf of Excel, we'll turn off your water heater for a few hours every now and then, and that'll help us shed load. And that's actively impacting inside your home. Now that's an opt-in program, and you're not going to run out of hot water because we don't do it when you're in the peak hot water usage. You just coast with your tank. But those types of things we are looking at. One of the things that we're actively working on, and I don't know if it's launched yet or not, but it's a program for people with electric vehicles that when you plug in, it's a specific rate that says you cannot charge your car until overnight. And so basically there's an override button. Like if you want to charge your car, you can hit it, you'll charge your car up, it'll be more expensive, but otherwise the plug will be dead until the middle of the night. It'll, turn on, and then you have like pennies compared to what it would be if you were charging it during the regular time. Similarly, there's also pilots going on of saying, let's say business A has 60 fleet vehicles that are all electric. We can partner with them to use their electric vehicle batteries to put power back on the grid so we don't have to turn on a coal plant. And then we're slowly draining those batteries, but we do it in a way that obviously is very transparent and very in line with whatever that business allows us to do. But there's a lot of that smart stuff being developed to try and make sure that when we try and go to the future where no one really knows what it looks like, we have the skills and the technology we need. Another thing that's coming out are smart meters. I don't know if you guys have heard about that, but smart meters are being rolled out in the relatively near future, which will have, I think we are getting 7-minute energy readings or 15-minute energy readings. So you'll have much more granularity in when everyone's using when. So we'll be able to do more intelligent things with the meters that we have on buildings, and you guys will be able to do more intelligent things with the data you have, rather than waiting for the month after you get the bill in the mail and put that into your spreadsheets or portfolio manager.
Thank you. First of all, let me thank all of you for coming. It's great. This is the hour. So if anyone wants to stay, great, but I want to thank everyone, and to our panelists, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to enlighten us on this important topic. As building operators and owners, that gray zone that John talked about, do you implement projects today and going forward? And we hope there's going to be a practical solution to that, because there are many organizations that have already implemented significant energy savings types of programs, and you would hate to see them having to invest in further programs or equipment that they really don't need. So we'll just have to wait and see. Thank you, everyone. Yeah.